Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Kraeher, Leigh Stima, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm here with Gretta and Yvonne, and we are very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. These conversations will help you examine your life and your creation of reality, what you're creating and how it shows up. For listeners who may be new to the podcast, Gretta, Yvonne, and I discuss a new quotation every week that Gretta has downloaded from the Realm of Beings. And then in the second part of the podcast, the Realm of Beings gets to weigh in and share their wisdom about the quotation. So this week, we have a little interesting, I think, shift. Ladies, how are you today?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Doing good here.
Good. So this week, we are talking about the quotation, babies are as creative as adults. They create their realities as well. You are thinking of their physical presence when you think of a baby as not being able to create his or her reality. And that is a very kind of, I think, I'll just speak for myself, of course, different way of looking at babies, right? I mean, for me, you always just see this little, it's a small person, but sometimes because it's such a tiny package, we think that it isn't creating its reality. How could it possibly create its reality? You might ask yourself. But I was thinking about this a little bit earlier today, and, other podcasts, we've talked about how, you start sort of creating your reality before you even get here, with picking parents and lessons and things you have to learn. So, we're all force and source energy, and I guess we have to get here somehow. And the way we're accessing this realm is through fairly small window, let's just say. So of course we have to start out little, but apparently it's like a full personality and it's just a compact size. And when I see kids now, I really look at them as like these little kind of like, they're almost like aliens, they're like these little tiny people. And what's going on in their minds when they cannot speak, they have no mobility, it's like they cannot express themselves. So that's my thought on it for the opening. What do you ladies have to add?
I'm gonna let Yvonne go because I see her smiling.
Yeah, I think of when I think of a baby, I think of, well, first when my own children were babies. That's a long time ago, but more recently, I do have a baby in my life. Another, one of my nieces has a baby, and I think of him and I smile, and then I think they do. They actually, they get exactly what they want because all they have to do is just be there. And you're like, oh, I'll take care of you. Like first their survival needs. for warmth and nourishment. And so, they're always either crying or smiling or moving around, doing something to get the adult in the room or the adults in the room to pay attention to them. And so they create that so that their immediate needs are taken care of for survival initially. And then it just moves from there to other levels of creation of reality emotionally. Like if they get bored, they want to be entertained, they want something going on in their life, they don't just want to sit in the chair or lay on the blanket or do something, then it's up to the adults again in the room to support what the baby wants to create, which is like a toy. Like, give me something to do, something interesting to look at. Like, I'm bored here, therefore I need something to do. So yeah, I think it just keeps going on from there. And it really, when the baby surrounds themselves with loving, caring adults, which again, our podcast is all about creating reality. So they've obviously come into this world to learn lessons, and they create the environment that they're born into. And so, baby can be born into what we would consider a non-nurturing environment, or like a loving home. And so it just kind of goes from there, I think. Yeah, that's my opening take on that. Listen to Greta laughing. What's so funny over there?
No, I would like to say this. Usually when I talk, give talks, especially on creation of reality, then I ask the question, who has the most power? Because people are oriented toward that concept of power. I say, who has the most power? A baby or an adult? And it's very interesting because half of the room will say it's the baby. The other half of the room will say it's the adult. So when I ask, I say to them, okay, to the people who think it's the baby, why is it the baby? Why do you think that? They said, well, the baby makes demands and we have to feed it. The parents have to feed it. The parents have to clothe it. So the baby is basically making those demands and has the power to do that. And I'd say, oh, that's wonderful. And then I asked the adults, I'd say, not the adults, but the people who said that it was the adult. I asked them, I said, well, what do you say? And they said, well, we're in charge. We have the power, because if the baby, we have to feed the baby, otherwise the baby can't eat. So we're in charge of that. Okay, so I want to segue to what you said, Yvonne. You used a word in the last part of your talk that you gave us this morning. You used the word support. And that was so important when you use that word. Because what I say to the people in the audience is that the adult and the baby have equal power. It's not that one is doing more, has more power than the other. They're equal. So, because both of them, remember, we've been talking about create, support, support, create. So that's going on between the baby and the parents. Create, support, support, create. So each one of them is creating. Now, I want to go back to the quote. It says, the last part of the quote says, you are thinking of their physical presence when you think of a baby as not being able to create his or her reality. And that was the side that said that the parent was in charge, had the power, and not the baby. But see, that is very true about it, because what are we all? All of us are energy essences. We are all energy essences. If I took the corporal bodies off of the three of us, people would see not three different types of energy, but one. And that's the force, because that's what we all are, regardless of what ethnic group we belong to, what race we belong to, what species we belong to. We are all the force. So therefore, the baby is also a force. It's just a physical state of being small, like Leigh said. So we think that it doesn't have the power to create its reality, because we don't understand that the baby, the actual baby that came here, is the force. It came for a humanoid experience in terms of humanoid cognitive individuals here in this reality, because it could, the energy back at the incarnate stage could have made a choice to decide that it wanted to come as a cow, you see, and then it would be born and be called a calf. But still, that calf is the force as well. So everything gives me an opportunity to get on my soapbox about everything is the force, everything.
It all comes back to being the force. Well, I mean, you know, I don't have children, but and I've only really had the experience of taking care of my nephew, and exchanging with him. And I mean, I still think babies are like really just pure, like they are the purest form, maybe. Probably all little tiny things, right? Whether you're a tiger or a cow or a baby, you know, you're, before you get some, you know, societal beliefs and things like programmed into you from the, uh, let's say, bigger people in the room. You know, I just remember when my nephew was small, I just felt like he was just an open flow of this energy. And if I didn't feel good or just was having a bad day, and I would go to that little open source, and my mood would just completely brighten up, seeing that glimmer in his eye or that little smile, or and you know, everything changed. And I watched, it was a powerful experience. You know, there's a Whitney Houston song that I had like a whole different view of after this 3 years with my nephew. And, you know, she says in a song, you know, like, let them know that children are the future, you know, treat them well and let them guide the way. And I saw that my nephew, you know, about 3 years old, started to get like, he started to shift, and that bundle of joy and laughter, you know, kind of had some impressions from the parental figures, you know, he was experiencing. And it was very interesting, but, you know, it gave me a glimpse, because I guess that may be an experience that happens to many of us. And I guess it's the human experience here, right? To get back, or to, or not, but, you know, to try and remember that we are that, you know, when you can go into the middle of the room and just stand there clapping because there's music on, and it doesn't matter, you don't think like, oh, someone's going to think I'm look silly or an idiot, you know, you just clap and dance and whatever, and then you move on to the next thing.
See, the only thing I would say to that, Leigh, is that when you said that the baby, you know, they're happy-go-lucky, okay?
Mhm.
So then they start to take on the illusions of this reality. So
Mhm.
then they start to change. But what I want to say is all of that takes place before they come here. Before even conception, all of that is in place already.
Ah,
Yes, because when you're in the incarnation stage, you're making a lot of decisions at that time. One
mhm.
of the decisions is, what parents are you going to use? And let me correct that. I'm not even going to say parents. Say, what individuals are you going to use to enable you to make your passage into this reality? Now, the
Right.
reason why I state it like that is because there are children that, not children, but energy essences that choose two individuals that they're going to use as the passageway here, but do not choose them as their parents.
Right. They could have some sort of shift and like the quote unquote biological
They would have
influences.
created that. They would have created that already. In other words, back at the incarnation stage, I've got the two individuals that I'm going to use as the passageway here to the reality. And then when I get here, after I'm born, I'm going to choose two other parents. In other words, they can go into an adoption type thing.
Right.
Because
Someone
that
could
would be the reality that that child, that energy essence as an infant would create that, you see.
Mhm.
And then when you're back at the incarnation stage, when you choose your parents, you are choosing the lineage of those individuals. You are choosing the epigenetics of those individuals before you even go through conception. This is
Mhm.
all done before conception. So you've already established the environment for yourself that you're going to grow in, quote
Okay.
unquote, grow in.
Right. Well, that's like brings a very interesting kind of uh story around. A friend of mine was saying that the father goes into the room in the morning and talks with the daughter, how was your nighttime and things like that. And she said, "Oh, Dad, I remember that before I was born, let's just say my friend Annie and I were together and we wanted to be friends again. So we were looking and we saw, you and Mom, and we knew, like, we decided that we would pick these people so that we could be friends again here," which I thought was super interesting. You could think that that is like the fantasy of a little girl, but that sort of ties into what you're saying. I mean, apparently there was like a line of energy essence, and they said, okay, those two, because look, somewhere they converge, and that means we will converge. And there you go.
See, I would say that that is possible because anything is possible.
Hmm.
But I don't want people to think that that there's a reincarnation going on there,
Hmm.
because the way it's been stated gives you the concept of, okay, right now I died and now I've come and I can make new choices about what I want to do myself. Now we're getting into what happens to an individual after they make their transition. Because when you say to me what she said, that is possible, but at what time, what part of that event did she say that in? See, that becomes the question.
Hmm.
At what part? Because when you make your transition, or die. First of all, I want to say that death is not real at all. That's one of the biggest illusions going. You think you're dead, and that's impossible. But what happens is that you are in a laterality, of which there are a myriad of lateralities. You know, I just draw them for people as little squares. And think of a Rubik's Cube, and you think of all the squares. And I say each one of those squares is a laterality, and it goes into infinity. Next time, if I remember, I'll have Colton put up a screen to show that, a laterality. But the point is that in that square, in that laterality, that is where you, at that incarnation stage, that is where you decided to place yourself. See, that's another decision you're going to make. What laterality am I going in? What reality am I going in? You see, you have to make that decision. So what happens is that once you've made that decision, there are lessons that you have agreed to learn. You're committed to learning those so that you experience those for your own evolution, which is the evolution of the force. See, it always goes back to the force. So now you're in this laterality. Now you're in the reality that is in this laterality. So what happens is you stay in the laterality, but you change realities of transitional portals. You stay there until you fully learned your lessons. Now, I think some time ago, I mentioned this on the podcast before. So, but it fits with what you said about the little girl. So that once you quote unquote die or make your transition, you go in, you decide, okay, these are the lessons I have not completed yet or finished yet. So therefore, you go into your next transitional portal to learn those things. And then you'll go into another but you stay right here in this laterality. I know those who are just listening, I've got my hands up and I'm showing like a little hallway in between my hands. You stay right there. You're not going to go to another laterality because you've got to finish the lessons that you said you were going to do. And you keep going and going and going. Now, before, I used to always bring my hands forward like this. I'm moving my hands forward. So it's like you're going forward, but that's not what's happening. That's the wrong direction. Where you're going in these transitional portals is deeper inside yourself, as yourself. You're going deeper and deeper. So, and you're going to continue that until you have learned, number one, all of your lessons that you've got to learn, that you've set up to learn. And the big one is, there are two big ones. You know, you have learned and fully incorporated into your being that there is no separation. When you put that inside yourself and say that there is no separation, then you fully understand that you are the force. And it is at that point in time that you are totally rejoined. And it's not a rejoining because you've never unjoined. It's just the illusion that you're separate. But in essence, you've never, ever been separate. You see. So the question for me would be to this little girl, when did you make that decision? Because if she had gotten all the way to the end of that time and she understood that this is what I want. This is what I want to do. Then we can say that, okay, then maybe you made that decision at that point in time that you wanted to be with somebody else, or the same person. You were friends once before, so you want to stay friends again. But see, that's a creation of reality. Because now we can take it deeper, and I know Yvonne wants to say something. Now we can take it deeper, and you have to understand. Well, you don't have to, but when you look at people, you see people that you're interacting with. You are creating those people. Like right now, people who are viewing us on this podcast, they're creating us as they look at us. Now that's hard to challenge to swallow.
Yes.
But that's what's truly happening. You create everything that's in front of you. So you're in a constant state of creation of reality. So that little girl that you said who liked her friend can recreate her again without any problem. You just see her there. That's all. That's all. And she can take her, because you take the people with you that you want to take, because you're going to recreate them. I have to tell you this story, and then I'm going to switch it over to Yvonne, that one of my facilitators, her husband died. I know she's listening. She's listening right now. I know she doesn't mind me telling the story. But he died. She asked me, she said, Gretta, where is he? So we knew he was in the transitional portal. So I said, okay, well, let me go look, because I travel into the transitional portal back and forth when I have to. So, but you have your own section. When you go into the transitional portal, you are in your own section. So when I got there, I saw him. I said, well, he's in the house. So he recreated in this new transitional portal his house where he was living. He created his wife again. She was with me in this reality, but at the same token, she was with him in the transitional portal. Okay? She asked me, and he was standing in the kitchen. I said, your kitchen hasn't been remodeled yet, because she remodeled the kitchen just before he died. But I said, it's not remodeled. She also looked thinner. He also looked thinner, because they got heavier as they grew older. Okay? So then she asked me, I said, there's a dog walking around. She said, did the dog have ears folded over or ears pointed up? Now this becomes significant. I told her the ears are pointed up. She said to me, oh, that's my dog. And she gave the name of the dog, which I can't remember at the moment. She said, that's my dog. But that is my house back in the 1980s. If we want to look at chronological time, humanoid chronological time. So when you're in your transitional portal, you create the people that are going to be around you, and the people that you're going to interact with. That's why she could be with me, and she was also in that transitional portal with her husband in his new transitional portal. Now I'm going to turn it over to you, Yvonne. What were you going to say?
Whoa, that's pretty heavy. I think I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but I think the essence of it was, I feel like people of a certain nature that maybe learn these lessons that are in our reality now, or may have been in a, like we're familiar with, say for example, like a saint or somebody like that who gets it. They absolutely realize they're one with everything, and like they're like a exuding unconditional love. So are they like, do they just, in the lifetime that they're in right now, like, can they just get out of it while they're still technically alive? Get out of that transitional, or that whatever that reality is. Can they just jump out of whatever they're in and then still be alive in body form and have already learned their lessons there? Is that
I have
possible?
another story for you.
Oh, okay, good. We
Yes.
have to go to break pretty soon, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but don't go to break until after I tell this
All
story.
right, tell the story. Go ahead.
I used to work in a Catholic school. I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I told this story yesterday. And it was All Saints Day. So Sister Ellen was the librarian. She's no longer, she's in another transitional portal now, but she was the one that would give the book. Each teacher had to go get the book out of the library. There was only one book in the whole school that dealt with saints, since you brought this up about saints. That's the only reason why I'm telling you this story. So each classroom, you would read this book, and each classroom had to decide what saint was going to be their representative for their class, because we were going to have a mass and everybody was going to talk about, every class was going to talk about their saint that they had chosen during the mass, sometime during the mass, right? So I was reading with my children and they decide, I was reading this one, then this one, then this one. We went through the whole process and the children voted and they chose a particular saint, of which I don't remember, okay? So now it's time for me to take the book back to Sister Ellen because, so the next teacher could get the book on saints. So when I walked in there, I told her, I said, Sister Ellen. She said, yes, Greta. I said, you know, I've been reading all about these saints. And I said, all of the things that that they're known for, which were a lot of psychic things, okay? They could do this, they could do that, and that can do that. So you know what I told her? I said, well, I said, based on what I've read, then I am a saint myself. That's why I'm telling you that story. Because what is a saint? They put these individuals up on pedestals and say, okay, we're going to make you a saint. But there's so many of us walking around that have these abilities that they could be saints as well. So what is it? It's because this particular group of people decided that this person was going to be a saint because they worked certain miracles. I've been told, I tell people there are no miracles here. It's just creation of reality. Because some people I've worked on in hospitals and the doctors don't know that. So they say, oh, it's a miracle. And I know I didn't create any doggone miracle. The people had to create that reality, even though I gave them the energy, but they created the reality for their healing. So with me, I can do all kinds of things because I've been taught to do all those things. But the point is, Greta's still in a humanoid body. She's still in a humanoid existence. And man, do I have lessons. That's why I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Sainthood, whatever. You still have lessons to learn, regardless of what your abilities are. And by the way, everybody on this earth creates their own reality, and everybody on this earth has what people call psychic abilities. Everybody has it. Somebody tells me, well, I have a gift. I said, you don't have a gift. A gift is something you get that you've never had before in your life. That's a gift. I said, but you have abilities and we're all born with the same abilities. Saints are no different than anybody else. We all have those abilities. What we do is we decide, okay, I don't want this ability, or I do want this ability. That's what you decide. I've had some abilities, I've said it on the podcast, where I could read people's minds. You didn't even have to speak to me. All you have to do is stand right there in front of me and I can read your mind. That's an ability. That's not a gift. And anybody can do that. I decided that I did not want that ability to be active because it was too confusing. I couldn't remember if I had just read it out of the person's mind or if they actually told it to me. So I said, this is too confusing. I don't need, this is one ability that I don't need. I didn't want to walk down the street and hear all the thoughts of all these people. I didn't want to hear that. So I said, thank you very much for activating this, Greta, but we're going to unactivate it. And that's exactly what I did. So, you know, sainthood, we're all saints because we're all the force.
But don't leave us at a cliffhanger just quickly. So what was Sister Ellen's response to that?
She looked at me like I was crazy.
You know,
See, I
from
was known to be kind of different from everybody else. So she just looked at me.
sister. What
Shook
is
her head.
sister?
She just shook her head. She said, "Oh, Greta." I said, "Hey, you know, hey,
Right.
you know,
And
don't tell me."
right. Well, thank you for sharing that. We need to take a quick break so that the listeners can get some insights from the realm. Listeners, thank you for joining us today on Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We'll be right back with them. Hello, and welcome back to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We are at the point of the podcast where the realm gets to weigh in on the quotation we've been discussing today. So, Realm, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, today the quotation at hand is, babies are as creative as adults. They create their realities as well. You are thinking of their physical presence when you think of a baby as not being able to create his or her reality. So, what do you have to share with us today about that?
Well, we gave that quote. We thought that that was an important quote to give because you're, as humans, you are so connected to the physical reality of things. One of which is a baby is a baby, an adult is an adult. That is a wonderful and interesting illusion. Because when you go past the illusions of the physicality, then you know that everything is the force, that everything is an energy essence. That's what that quote is asking you or suggesting for you to look into. That babies are creating their own realities because they are an energy essence, just like the adult. The physicality that you have chosen at the time is an illusion. The true reality of your essence is that of being an energy essence. So therefore, it does not matter if you are a baby or an adult. It does not matter. Because the trueness is you are an energy essence, and all energy essence are equal because there is no separation. And that because there is no separation, there can be no separation between you and the force. So consequently, you are the force if you look at it logically, in your logic. You have to be it, not part of it, but it. And the baby is it, just like the adult is it. So there is no difference in the ability to create reality. You were going to say something?
I was just wondering, realm.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing it. Yeah.
Yes. So okay, do you have any guidance, let's just say? I know that every person is creating their reality and their supports and whatever, but do you have any guidance for parents who are maybe trying to be a little more aware or present, and like, what is their role? Of course, with a baby, the caretaker people, their responsibility is to make it alive, because there are certain things that a small person is not capable of doing for a while. But when the small human is growing up and more capable, is there something that parents can do to assist if they're trying to be a little more aware in in the raising, or growing up, like to foster an aware, like to help that small human remember that they're the force?
I find that question interesting because the parent is supporting the child where the child is at the unconscious level. There are some parents that if you judge them, would say, oh, these are wonderful parents. Then there are some parents, if you judge them, you would say are not very good parents. But then you get caught up in that illusion of judgment. What is really happening is that the baby is creating his or her reality. So the parent is supporting the child in his or her reality. For instance, if a child, an incarnate decides that it's going to manifest itself in a lineage where it's very violent. Violence is inside that lineage, but it chooses that parent, and it chooses another parent that will give it a run for its money. Then it comes through conception and it's born into this family that, if you judge it, would be considered dysfunctional. However, they're not dysfunctional. The baby has chosen to go through this experience because it's an energy essence, and it wants to experience what it's like being humanoid in a particular, as Gretta said it earlier, laterality, in a particular reality. There's so many realities that are happening simultaneously that the incarnate could have chosen to come into. But it chose this one, as you're seeing your nephew chose. So that parent could be abusive to the child, but that's because the child created to be abused. Some people don't realize that. They said, how that parent is so mean. Yes, the child wants to experience the meanness. Otherwise, if it did not want to experience it, it wouldn't. And it chose those parents in the first place. Some of us choose parents that would seem to be so easy. They come into families that are wealthy, so they have a lot of physical wealth. So from the outside, you will see, oh, that's a wonderful family. But then when you get inside of it and you see everything, then you're going to go, whew, I don't think I want to be in that person's shoes. You see, so everything is the baby chooses it. That incarnation is so important because it gives the opportunity, the lessons, and everything that we want to experience for our evolution. Therefore, everything is considered good. There is no bad. We shouldn't have even said good. We should have said everything is an isness. It just is. When you judge it, you're going to make it good or bad. That's a bad mother. That's a bad father. Oh, that family is evil. You see. But the child, as an incarnate, decided and chose that experience. Does that answer your question or give credence to your discussion?
Yes, it just, reinforces the fact that, why judge anything that's going on outside
Absolutely.
you, that's quote unquote off your paper, and, stay, as Yvonne says, in your own lane and worry about what you're creating. That's it. And that frees up so much time.
Absolutely. Now, that's not to say that you won't lend some assistance to that child that's growing up. It's not to say that, but you're only giving the assistance because the child, now it's a child, created to be assisted.
Mm.
You see, you don't give just help to anybody. They have to create to attract you to help them. So sometimes a child will come here and decide, well, thank you for bringing me here. I got here through these two individuals. Thank you, but I'm moving on. And then they choose two other new parents. Or they go, you see the child move from the parent to the grandparent. You see. So then that grandparent or grandparents will be acting as parents. But that is the choice of the energy essence to do that. That is part of that energy essence experience. I'm moving from this person. I'm going over here to this person here. You see. So that energy essence decided it was going to be a humanoid infant and it was going to be born. Some decide at 6 months or 3 months, okay, I've had enough. I've experienced, I know, because you see, they can feel the mothers. They know what the mothers are going through. They feel it. Here in your science, you say that the child at 6 months can hear and see everything. So if you've chosen volatile parents, then you're going to experience that in the womb and you haven't even been born yet. You see, it's not so much choosing your reality after you are born. You're choosing your realities before you're even conceived. You're setting the stage for yourself, for what you want to experience. It's like, are you going to play a level of chess, or are you going to play a three-dimensional chess? You see. So you make those decisions. Do I want it to be easy for me, or do I want to experience what it's a challenge? Give me a challenge. I want challenge. Think of those children who are born in families that everybody is experiencing an addiction of some sort. Look at that. They've chosen to come into a family. See, when we talk about it, you say, oh, no, who would want to do that? Well, there are energy essences that want to experience that. And the energy essences are the force, so the force is experiencing what is it like to be in a family that is fully engrossed in addictions. You see, everything is creation of reality. Everything. Yes.
Yvonne, do you have any questions?
No, it's a lot to contemplate. I mean, we take it back to the quote, babies are as creative. I think that's the essence, the creative piece of this. We're creating. Babies are also creating. So, yeah, just everybody keep in mind, what you think about, your feelings, what you do in this physical body. It's of your own doing. So if you want to change it, you can at any time. So don't be a victim if you don't want to be a victim, or if you do, that's okay too.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, we have 2 minutes left. Do you have final thoughts for our listeners today?
You asked us to give some quote unquote, I think you used the word advice, Leigh. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if that's the word.
I think so. I think that was my word.
What we can say is that the one thing that you want to do with your children and with yourselves is to assist your children in loving themselves as you create to love yourself and stay in that place. Assist your child in staying in that place of love of self. But you can't give it to the child. The child will attract it. If your child does not attract you to talk about loving self, then that means that the child has lessons that it wants to learn that teach it the opposite. So it's to accept your child as they are. Provide them, but note, you can't provide them with anything unless they want to be provided with it. You can't do anything to your children unless they want it, because they are in as much control as you are, if you want to talk control, if that helps you to understand what we're saying. Your children are creating their realities at the same time you are creating yours.
And Realm, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you, Greta. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. We've reached the end of another podcast of Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, until we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, The Realm, and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at transformationtalkradio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.